You have dialed in to the Carolina Line. My name, Kevin Donnelly. With me, Al Wallace, 10 years in the NFL, former Carolina Panther. I also was a former Panther, 13 years in the NFL. And when we're talking Carolina Line, it's everything about the Carolina O-line, D-line, how it affects the rest of the game. Plus, you'll get all of our input along the way. The last game versus, I don't even remember who we played.
Atlanta Falcons.
Why did you bring it up? I wanted to forget it.
It
was a tough game.
It was tough. Ugly. That one hurts. We can't beat the Falcons, and I lose sleep, man.
Yeah. Al, a tough game.
Very tough game. I mean, it's just disappointing. Coach gets fired. Coach Ron Rivera gets fired on Tuesday. A lot of changes in the front office. Perry Fuel is now the interim head coach, and the guys, we're playing this one for Ron Rivera. Well, I can guarantee you, wherever Ron Rivera was, he was not happy about that. I know he said it was too soon. He wasn't going to watch this football game. Wasn't a lot to watch. Wasn't a lot of positives in there, but we'll break it down. We'll get down and dig inside those offense and defensive line, some of the X's and O's, some of the things that happened that we saw that we're going to break down for you here today.
You brought up Coach Rivera. We haven't had a chance on our podcast to comment about it, but just maybe a quick comment on Coach Rivera and the Panthers separating ways with him.
Yeah, I think I'll echo what everyone else said. He was just a great guy. A guy I met in 1999. I was with the Philadelphia Eagles. He was the linebackers coach, which seems odd because I'm a defensive end on Andy Reid's coaching staff, and they tried to convert me. And every time I saw Ron, no matter where we were, how many times I see him throughout the course of the year, whoever I'm with, he'll say, "Can you believe we tried to make this guy a linebacker?" And we always joke about play action pass plays. When I'm supposed to be dropping in coverage, I was on the quarterback. I was gone.
Yeah.
I was trained to go forward. So we had that bond. He was very good to me, taught me everything I knew about linebacker. It didn't work out. Obviously, I'm not a linebacker, but he gave me every possible chance to be successful. Ended up getting cut and going to Chicago after that. But he was a great coach, a great football player, a great mind. And you can see from every comment that anybody he's touched has said about him, he was a great man. And I think he's okay with that. When you heard the reporters ask that question at his exit press conference there, you can see the emotion. That's what he wants to be remembered as. A great football coach, but a great man.
Yeah, and that it definitely was his character. Came in from the get-go. I met him pretty much a couple weeks right after he was hired, and just extended an invitation to him to come to a charity event that I do every offseason in March, and he shows up, and he'd just been with the team 2 weeks, and carved some time out one evening on a Friday evening, I think, in March, that came out there and supported the cause, and he didn't know me from anything. He just knew I was a former NFL player, that I'd also played with the Carolina Panthers, and, also along with that was just feeling welcome at every practice. It's different teams have different philosophies on how they handle their alumni, and some are welcome back, some are kind of just not really communicated with a whole bunch, and but I think the Panthers kind of in the middle. They do some things for the alumni. It's not their primary goal. It's to win football games, but once you're a Panther here, you always felt like with Mr. Richardson and now even with Mr. Tepper, he's kind of kept that same thing along, that former players are welcome, and they've really kept us in the family. So couldn't say enough, sing the praises of Coach Rivera and all he's done for this franchise, and he will coach again.
Absolutely.
Could be a head coach very quickly, and if not, would definitely be a defensive coordinator, because he cut his chops at that position and was well respected for a ton of years in the NFL. I'm glad. So fantastic that the Panthers handled it the way they did. It didn't feel like someone getting fired whatsoever. It was like a tribute party.
Very unusual.
You just don't see that very often.
No, they did a great job, and I think it's in recognition of who Ron Rivera was and what he meant to this team. Look, 25 years of Panthers football, and a new owner comes in. He has his philosophy. He's been around football for a while. Wealthiest owner in the NFL. He wants to do things his way. That's his MO. That's who he is when he's not doing football. He's a great businessman, and he wants to get great people around him. I think he showed tremendous patience with Ron Rivera, Marty Herney, this staff, the football team, on the way it was run. He didn't come in and change the football part of it. He came in right away, day one. You saw a lot of changes in the front office, in the building. So now I think he said, well, we're not going forward with Ron Rivera. I'm going to let him go. I'm going to start the process. I'm going to be respectful. I'm not going to do this behind his back. And I think although we don't like it, we hate to see guys lose their job. The job was undone. He had 4 weeks left to finish the job with his guys. That did not happen. We felt some kind of way about it, but I think for Ron Rivera, I think it's the best thing. It allows him to take a breath, play some golf, get ready for the next opportunity, next round of interviews. And for this team, you would hope that it charges them a little bit to go forward here. Didn't look like that Sunday. The team was still, pretty much what we had seen the first portion of this season, just out of sorts, just disappointing, just not executing at a high level.
I think probably the biggest thing to address is right off the bat was, with the Panthers trying to get back in that ball game, did a calculated risk on a 3rd and long situation where they had Atlanta backed up on their own 7-yard line, and Coach Fuel makes the decision to, let's just run an all-out blitz, man-man coverage on the outside, and let's see if we can get a spark play, as he called it. Needed something to spark the team. But it backfired big time with the ball getting connected to Zacchaeus, who actually caught that his first pass ever in the NFL. Was a touchdown, 93-yarder, and the longest of Matt Ryan's career. So you got a guy that never caught a ball in an NFL game.
I feel like coaching, my thought process with football is to be aggressive, backed up. You want to get guys in Matt Ryan's face. You want that ball to come out his hands quickly, and you hope that your coverage can hold up, zero blitz, man-to-man, no deep safety to be that net back there in case it all breaks down. What has to happen is you have to get there. If you're going to rush 8, somebody has to come free. You're counting on the guy to come free, that ball to come out off timing, errant throw. Didn't happen. He stepped back, he threw it off his back foot, he took a hit for it, and he delivered a strike. Now the next thing that has to be done, and we saw Donte Jackson, you got to make a tackle, man. He wasn't blown out of his socks where the guy was 5 yards behind him, or at least the throw allowed him to catch up enough where it didn't look that bad. But you got to get some type of body control and get the guy on the ground and salvage that touchdown. Tackle him, get a pass interference, get the ball at that spot, but you cannot, in that situation, give up a 93-yard touchdown.
Matt Ryan's really smart, and he's going to get rid of that ball if he sees it. And I felt like some of those guys, the position they're blitzing from, they were kind of getting there the same time as some of the D linemen. If you're blitzing a guy, you want to bring him because you want to overwhelm an offense and send one more guy than they can possibly block and hope that guy gets through. And one of our DBs got there. He was the one that got the hit. I don't remember the name, but I remember he came from depth. And so I think that gave Matt Ryan just that little extra time. And I give credit to Donte afterwards because he did take ownership where he said, hey, I was beat right off the get-go. Basically, he had to just play catch-up mode from there. I think that the big disconnect, and we might have the same opinion on this or might not, I don't know, but to me, in the football I grew up in and the football I know is just, that locker room is sacred, that you have trust there. And what we've seen from Coach Rivera and Coach Fox is they rarely, maybe even never, call out individual players.
Yep.
So if you want your business out there and you want Coach Fuel,
he will.
He's next week. Hey, they completed. We had a real tough day out here this week, or we had a great day, but on the back end of it, Donte Jackson gave up 3 big passes for us. The rest of the team was solid. It doesn't give you free reign to just say what you ever want to say. There's going to be repercussions. So to me, in a nutshell, it's just keep your mouth shut in certain details of the game. You want to provide the fans with knowledge of it and everything that's going on, but there's so many other parts that work into this thing. You can't ever blame it on one thing. And for him to blame a call and then call it out, even if he's right, because it was something new, right? He said he hadn't run that a whole lot before in that exact situation. Players got to just play whatever the call is, but coaches want reps. That's what they always said about Kyle Allen. Let's get him to 5,000 reps because then that's when his experience will kick in. So you got to go with it sometimes and do some things that are new to you. But obviously that play didn't respond like they wanted to, and then it's kind of caused another distraction because they'll keep asking about it. Once it's a story out there, there's not really anywhere to go back from it.
I think he was wrong, and I also think he was not right, right? So he's wrong because that's just not what you do. I don't know about you, but I struggle doing this job because I don't want to call guys out.
Yeah.
It feels wrong. I'm not in that locker room. We barely know the guys personally that are playing for that team, but it feels wrong to call out an individual on poor play, individual play, bad performance. It's just not right. It's because of how we were raised in the game. It's because of the culture in that locker room. You just don't want to do that. His coach stood to the podium today at his press conference. We handled it in-house. Yes, I talked to Donte. We've taken care of that. And there's no other questions to be asked because you're not getting anything else. You're not going to call a guy out like that. Is he in the most advantageous position one-on-one? No, I don't care how fast he is. He's a second-year player. This guy across from him is a pro. I don't care how many balls he's caught throughout the course of his career. So it's a tough snap. It's a tough snap for Donte, sure enough. But to call his newly appointed interim head coach and play caller on the defensive side out was just not right. And I was on the radio this morning. I said what I would like to see is those veterans say, hey, this is not how we do it. This is what pros do. We keep it in house and let it go like that. He's a young player. He's still learning. You don't want to do that. What you do is open up that box where now everybody's going to start critiquing every snap he takes. I guarantee you watch social media, every time he misses a tackle, gets burned, somebody's going to point it out to him. Now, they're going to call him out. And I know that may not bother him, but I think he didn't have enough time to kind of calm down, cool down, and think about what he was actually saying on that.
Yeah, and it's tough because he's young. He's a competitor.
Absolutely.
And, part of it's you're embarrassed, and you're trying to kind of mitigate what happened when you're talking to the press.
Yep.
And we've been there. I'm sure there were situations where they asked the offensive line, you guys gave up 7 sacks today. And, we're like, I'd love to say the quarterback held onto the ball way too long, or, hey, the back is part of the protection too. That's where the sack came from. But you never did it. You just never really called those things out. So you keep it to yourself. So I think we're in agreement there. And I think it's a tough lesson for him, but it's something he'll learn. And it's the trust and, part of what you put into it, you're going to expect it back. And, you call out somebody, then that kind of opens the door for them to call you out on certain things. And you don't want that stuff public. So hopefully Coach Fuel has really contained that locker room. That's a big test, is to see if you could combine tough, hard-nosed, old-school discipline that David Tepper was talking about with modern processes and what they do with analytics and combine those things. Yeah. And so the first thing with a disciplined team is that everyone's on the same page, everyone's traveling the same direction, rowing the same way, whatever you want to say it. They're locked in step. Everything that they do is in sync, and a big part of that is how the locker room's handled. How do you talk to the media, and how do you take care of your business? And that's something he had to clean up right away that I'm sure he didn't want to have to deal with, especially a guy that's a position he's coached, to have to go through that process. But I'm sure he's had a meeting and talked to everyone and said, look, we know this is an issue, and I talked to Donte, and I'm sure they handle it real well in-house.
You're going to see a lot more guys that get opportunities, but I think there are guys in position to help the team, like Ian Thomas. They're not just throwing them out there to see. And no, the big question of the day, they're going to hear it for the next 3 weeks, is Will Grier. What is he going to do?
That's where I was going next,
Are we going to go and put this guy out here for the offense? Let's see what we have in Will Grier. And I really have mixed opinions about that, but I'll let you take the first shot at it.
I think the overall topic is what young guys can you get in there and get some reps to play. And if they're available and if they're healthy, it's Burns, it's Christian Miller, it's Dennis Daly and Greg Little. If they got to both be out there at the same time, give them a shot. Because the offensive line now, the way it's composed, I don't think there's any magic formula to getting it to be where it needs to be. No. I think it's an off-season address that they take care of. O-line, D-line, we've talked about it on the show, so we won't rehash that. But that's the big question is some of those younger players that we have, you want them to play as much as you can, but the one big variable is Will Grier. And what do you do with that? My opinion, I feel like he should play sometime. At least get him in there to just get his feet wet and just feel what it's like one time. Then he can go into the offseason knowing that he could check that box off. I had real NFL action, and I got in there, and maybe it didn't look good. Maybe it was 0 for 5. But at least he ran some real reps, and There's just something about the first time. You know, I'm on the sideline and I'm just waiting and and this guy's getting hurt. Is he ready? They come out. No, I think I'm gonna be okay. So then you're like, okay, I'm not in. And there's always these like times that you know, you think you can get in there, and then suddenly you know what, the season's over. And I was glad I got some time my rookie year, because at least gave me some stuff I needed to work on and what I could get better and what things confused me or I did well. And I think in every individual player, it's how they do in practice isn't always translate to the field. Yeah. Because some of them can be bums in practice and they're gamers.
You know, we've seen it all, both directions.
And guys that are just, they do everything right in practice and make all the calls, but they freeze up. You know, they get into a real game and things just don't speed up for them there. You know, when it's controlled conditions, they look fantastic. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I think there's different word coming out exactly how well he's progressed over the year. But at the same time, there's part of it that you just can't analyze in practice. You just got to throw a kid out there. And I'm not saying you start the game with him, but like this Falcons game, to me, it's out of hand. There's about 7 minutes left in the game. Just throw it in there. And you can head it off as a coach, say, look, there's no controversy. Kyle's our guy. I don't care. Will it went 5 for 5 and had 2 touchdowns. We don't care. We just wanted to get him some reps. Kyle's our guy. There's a way to kind of manage that. I don't know if you have a different opinion, but to me, I feel like sometime in these next 3 games, get him in there at least a little bit, because at least you can see a little bit. I'm not saying you can make a decision on where he stands in terms, can he be a backup or a good player in this league? It's just part of the process. Quarterbacks take a little while. They're doing it the traditional way. I would just like to see him get a few reps.
I don't disagree with that. I think we need to see Will Grier at some point in the season, whether it's at the end of football games that are out of reach like we saw in Atlanta. I think the fear, and what I heard from Coach Fuel today at the podium, was that there's no controversy. We're not doing that. We have enough to deal with. We're not doing – the most popular guy on the football team has always been the backup quarterback, especially a one that is local right here from the Charlotte area, and then you draft him in the 3rd round. So, you know, you're trying to weigh, you know, how much – you know, draft stock you used to bring him here. Why isn't he playing? And they keep saying because Kyle Allen gives us the best chance to win. And I think that means Will is still developing. He's not there yet, but you got to throw him in there, right? Because we both know that the preseason games, it's just one level. It's one tempo. He has never seen NFL football. He's not played NFL football. He's played preseason football, which – we know on game day that thing gets dialed up. Then you get to the playoffs and it's dialed up even more. And I think he needs to see that. He needs to get in another game. It's been a while where it's hostile competition. They're going to be disguising coverages and blitzes. And how's he going to deal with that? This team needs to understand where they are. If Kyle's your guy, you say that. And you continue to say that. And you let Will get in there throughout the course of maybe some games that get out of hand. Last game of the season, it's going to be the Saints, I believe, at home. I think that's the time. If there's ever a time, you give him the ball. It's going to be some backups. They're going to they've punched their ticket. The NFC South is theirs. You give him the ball and say, hey, you got 60 minutes. Let's see what you got. It's going to be some backups out there, but he'll still get to see NFL tempo football. I think the next 2 games, if it gets to a point where you want to swap him out and let him get a couple reps, fine. But don't make it like, you know, don't do it after a disappointing play from Kyle Allen, right? Because now it's a controversy. Right. So everybody's going, well, why didn't you do that? Why you take so long? The guy's been turning it over, throwing interceptions. The backup quarterback is sexy. Will Grier deserves an opportunity. I think it'll be later in the season, though.